que querías evitar.
Eso hacía. ¿Eso importa?
No, no creo. ¿Y qué haces aquí?
Solo quería agradecerte.
No fue nada.
También quería saber por qué decidiste no demandarme.
Porque Rachel me lo supo. Y porque dijo que te amaba y que habías cambiado de vida.
¿Y le creíste?
Yo creo que ella te ama. Pero si quieres saber la verdad, no creo que hayas cambiado tu vida. Y estoy segura de que no la amas.
¿Qué? ¿Cómo dices eso?
Porque la convenciste de que todo va a estar bien. Que ustedes van a vivir felices para siempre. Y yo no quería ser quien destrozara esos sueños. Pero sabes, no hay un día. Por eso nadie lo hizo. Si tú en verdad la amas, trata.
Function, just a callback function. And then within, we have access to a lot of things. I'm going to open. And do it right now. So first, we have access to something that calls form element, comma, we have the form data, then comma, we have the action, comma, and then we have something that's called canceled. So we have access to all of this. And they are just different. We have do it right now. So first, we have access to something that calls form element, comma, we have the form data, then comma, we have the action, comma, and then we have something that's called canceled. So we have access to all of this, and they are just different functions that will allow us to do different things. Now, I'm not going to go really crazy on this, but I'm just going to show you what we get back. So first is the form element. And this one, it's access to the DOM element of the actual form. So I'm going to say DOM element. Then we get access to the form data. And this is the form data, the inputs and the values of each input and everything else. So, you know, you get access. To this. So you can maybe go to form data dot and get the value that you have on name. You have access. Let me add. the comment, form, data, and then object. Then you have the action, and the action is where the form will be posted. So this is the action, and if you don't know native forms, when you work with a form, you need to provide the method, which is to post in this case, but then you provide an action, and we will talk about this on the next video. When you provide an action, you're pretty much saying where you want to post this, where on the server will go that form. If you don't have anything, it means that it will go to the page server that you have on the same route. So this one will output the location. Again, we will talk about changing the location. On the in a minute on the next video. And then you have the cancel, which means that this one will cancel the submission of the form. If I maybe go here and I reload the application, I want to submit something, we will get all of this. As you can see, first we get access to the DOM of the form, then we get access to the value of the input, and then notice that we get the location where it's going to go. And the form, it's not really submitting. We are not getting errors, we are not clearing the input, we are not getting anything. So it's not really going to the server. And this is because all of this, everything that we get, all of these methods will run before submitting the form, before going to the server. When you send it to the server, and for now I guess I'm gonna do this cancel, so we can go to the server, make real sure that you comment out the cancel. If I go here and submit something, since that cancel, it's not there anymore, if I submit, it will go to the server, but we still have access to everything else. Now, the thing is that the server will send the response. We are catching the response within the form and, everywhere else. Something, since that catch to the server, and for now we get all of these methods, will run before submitting the form, before going to the server. When you send it to the server, and for now I guess I'm gonna do this cancel, so we can go to the server, make real sure that you comment out the cancel. If I go here and submit something, since that cancel, it's not there anymore, if I submit, it will go to the server, but we still have access to everything else. Now, the thing is that the server will send the response. We are catching the response within the form and, everywhere else, but it would be nice to get a response maybe here. Well, you do get access. You need to return an async and then an async function. And this function will listen to whatever we get back from the server. And you need to get access within here to the result, and then you have a property called update. So if I go here and I say console.log and open and I see the result, well, this is the result that we get back within forms. So you can inspect it right here. And then you need to do the update. If I don't do the update, nothing will happen. I'm gonna reload the application, I'm gonna do something and submit. And notice that it's going. And we are getting something back. We can see right here the console log that it's data success, and this is the console log from the result. So we are getting the success, we are getting the stat success, and this is you're getting some. I'm gonna, if I don't do the update, nothing will happen. I'm gonna reload the application, I'm gonna do something and submit. And notice that it's going and we are getting something back. We can see right here the console log that it's data success, and this is the console log from the result. So we are getting the success, we are getting the status and everything else. But the form, it's not really updating, and this is because we need to call update so we can make the whole enhanced process to complete. We can make it complete. If I don't call update, the enhance will not complete and we will not get a full response on the template. We do get it right here on the console log. So this is like working with the middleware, for example, which is, what this is. If we never call next, it will not move forward. So we need to call update to get a response and make it work on the actual form. And if I do, again, Steve, and I submit, now, we get the console log and we get a response that we can work on the actual form. And if I do, again, Steve, and I submit, now, we get the console log. And we get a response that we can work with the form. Now still, all of this, everything that we get right here is to do something super specific with the form. Sometimes you will not even use it. Just using enhance to prevent the reloading of the form is enough. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Let's go to the next video and talk about named forms. This is the last thing about forms. Okay, so when we create a form and we post it, the page that server knows that we are working with just a single form of this component, and we catch that action with the default because it's just the only form that we get. But we can change the name and target different forms, or maybe create different forms on the same component. We just name the forms. So if I want to add a name, I need to change the action. I need to go here and say action equals, and then we provide the name of the actual form. And you do this by doing a question mark, then /, and then you provide the name. I will make it name of form. Now, if I save it, and now I go here, I reload it, I do something. If I submit it, nothing's gonna happen because, we are not really listening for this form. This form now has the name, and right now we are just using default. So the way to catch it on the server is by using that name of form. If I go back, reload the application, and I do something and submit, it will get, the form and do its job. The main point of naming forms is that now on the same component, we can go here and create a different form, provide a different name, with the action. And on the server, we can do just comma, go right here and catch a different form. That's the plan. That's, the plan. You can create different forms and process different forms on the same server file. There's something else with this action. If we post this form, Svelte.
Estaba explicando que se podía crear otro form. Por ejemplo, si esto lo copiamos y después agregamos aquí otro form, igual que esto, pero con una coma, por ser así. Y acá tenemos otro form, obviamente con otro nombre. Eso. That's all.
We'll assume that we want to process whatever is that we are posting to this location, to the same, page.server.js within the same route. So that's why this, it's working. Now, what we can do, and I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to show you how to do it. You can maybe target a different location on your application. So let's say that maybe I want to process this form with the server file that we have within users, and then, log in. We don't have it, but, let's just pretend that inside users, we have a server file inside the login route. Well, we go here and we do /, we go to the user's location, the user's route, then /, and then we go to login. So when we post this form, this will go to users, log in, it will try to find the page, that server.js that we have. We go to log in. So when
Ay.
and we do /, we go have within users, and then, log in. We don't have it, but, let's just pretend that inside users, we have a server file inside the login route. Well, we go here and we do /, we go to the user's location, the user's route, then /, and then we go to login. So when we post this form, this will go to users, log in, it will try to find the page, that server.js that we have on that location, and then it will process the form. That's, the plan. So you can go to a different location to process, but by default, it will go to the page server that you have on the same route. And since we are talking about going to different routes, what you get on Svelte is support for API routes. Let's move on to the next video and talk about API routes.
API routes.
So we know that the plus page.server, like this one on the contact, it's really tied to the plus page on the same route. This is why it's called plus page.server and not just server.js. The thing is that we can create a server.js and perform just very common server operations like get, post, put, patch, and delete. And they are perfect for API routes. And it works the same way. We need to go to routes and we need to create a location. Since I want to work with API routes, I'm gonna go here, create a new directory, and I will call it API. You can call it whatever you want. Now inside,
You call whatever you want.
I need to create the route. I'm going to create a new directory, and this one will be users. Now when we make
Users.
a request and we go to an endpoint, it's going to be API /users. Now still we need a file, and this is where we create the plus server.js. So here we need to listen for the get, post, put, patch, and delete, the common HTTP type of requests, and we do it through functions. So let's say that I want to listen for a get type of request. Well, then we need to export a function. Let me do it correctly, function, and this one needs to be called get. Since we are working with the get, this will be a get type of request. So when you're listening for something, you always need to send a response. If not, the server will fail. And the way you do so is by returning, let me do return, and then you return a new and then response. Now inside the response, you need at least two things. You need the body, which is the response. Let's say I want to send a JSON response. So I'm gonna say JSON stringify open and close, and inside, let's just provide something. I'm gonna say user and then name, and then inside I'm gonna say Steve. And the second thing that you need to pass is the configuration within an object. Let's say that I want to send the status. Well, that's gonna be 201. And that's it. When you make a request to API/users on this server, of course, you will be getting a response, a JSON response, and the status. Now we could use Postman to check all of this, but since this is a very simple response, we can check it right here. We can go to localhost. Remember, it's going to be API, then / and then users, and
Wait.
we get the JSON response that we are providing from the server. Now, usually you need access to the headers. You want to get access to the cookies, locals, and the body of the request. And you do this by accessing the object, which is the request. And if I go here, just like before, I'm going to do a console log, and we will get the things that we need. If I go
The things that we need.
here, make the request, just reload, and notice that we get back everything that we need. In a few minutes on the practice project, we will use API routes and we will use this object a lot. I'm gonna maybe comment this out because it's just way too long. And what happens if you want to get a post request? Something that you will do the whole time. You maybe will have a form on your application, maybe a contact form, and when you send the request, you want to process everything on your API route. Instead of what we are doing right now, maybe if we go to contact, instead of handling all of this right here, maybe we want to do it right here. Well, in that case, it's the same idea. We need to export a function. In this case, it's going to be an async function. Let me just finish with this function, and this one is going to be a post type of request, and inside again we get access to the object, and from here we have access to the actual, direct access to the actual request. So now we need to open and then just send a response. We return a new and then response. Inside we need the message or what we want to send back. I'm going to say success, and then we have the configuration, which is going to be, in this case, the status. And I'm going to say 201.
Explodes.
And right here, if we post something to this location, we can get it through the request. I'm gonna get the email. We're gonna create the example in a second, but first I will get the email from the request and then the body of the request, which is going to be a JSON type of request. And at some point, so we can see it on the console, I will console and then log, and I want to see the email. So email. So now I guess we kind of need an example, maybe to post something to this endpoint. And we'll go to the one that we have right here, users. We go to users, and inside users, we have the plus page that's spelled. And we have nothing right here, so maybe we can, we can do something. So I will go at the top. We'll create a week. First, we have the plus page that's spelled, and we have nothing right here. And inside users, we have the plus. We can do something. So I will go at the top. I will create a new script. I'm gonna need to use Axios. So first I will import Axios, and then from Axios, and the only thing we need to do is to provide an email. So, okay, so I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna say let and then email, and this one will be a reactive type of property, and we will start with an empty, empty field. And then I'm going to say that we want an input. The input is going to be of type of email, and then we want to bind the value with the whatever property we have right here, which is the email. And then, we want to post it. And for this, we're going to need a function to process all of this, and we're going to need an async and then function, and then I guess I'm going to call it post and then user, because we are posting a user. I'm going to remove the params, and then we need a good old try and catch. So try, and then we go to catch, open and close. If we get an error, for now I'm going to console log. The only thing I want to do right now is to make sure that I go to the post on our server. And to do that, we are going to need the URL. And remember, we are on our own server. We don't need to go to an external API. So it's / we go to API, we just go to the endpoint, which is users. Then we create the request. So I will go to response, and this is equal to await. Then we go to Axios dot, and we go to post, open and close. And we'll use this URL. Now we need to provide the email. I'm going to open, and then the email is going to be this property, the one that we are using to do the bind. And at some point, I want to do the console log of the response that we get from the server, from our, server. So response and that data. We are not really using this function, so I will go at the bottom, create a button, open and close, then I will say post and then user, and I guess we just need to do an on click, so on click and then call to that function. We are working with a very simple example. We will do something a little bit more, way more challenging in a few minutes. So I guess I'm gonna reload, go to users, we have the input and then the post. So I will say steve@gmail.com and I will post it. And we need two things. We need a response on the actual server. So I will go down on the terminal. So we should see a response here and then a response on the console. So I will post it. We get success from the server, and if I go to the server, we are getting Steve at gmail.com. So yeah, it's that simple, super simple to use. If you know Next.js, you you have something very similar, and I gotta say this one is a little bit easier than Next.js. Now, what if you need to return an error or you need to return something else that it's not just a good response? Well, you can, because remember we have the same tools that we have on the plus page.server.js. If I wanted, I could import the error from Svelte.js and then Kit. If I want to send an error back, we just need to return that error. And then Svelte will, take care of this for us. So let's say that on the server, I'm looking for a very specific email. So I'm going to ask, is this email different than francis@gmail.com? So at gmail.com. If the email it's not Francis, I will just return a response with an error. So I will say error, open and close. First, we need to provide the status code and then the message. You are not Francis. If it is Francis, we will send the good response. So let's try again. If I provide steve@gmail.com, we will be getting an error. If I open the Axios message, you get the fail from Axios, but if we go to the actual response, we get it on the data, then message, and you are not Francis. So yeah, as you can see, it's just very simple to work with. We will use API routes when we get to the practice project of this course. Right now, I want to discuss something else, which is highly important, especially if you want to deploy your application. We need to talk about how the pre-rendering works and how you can control it. By default, our routes will get rendered on the server and then on the client. We know this. If we go to the package package.json that we have somewhere right here, the package.json. We have the commands like we get on Svelte, just Svelte, not Sveltekit, the build and then the preview. So we can do npm run build to build our application and then preview to check it out. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill the server. I will do clear and then run npm run and then build. Now, of course, it's going to take a little while. And once it's done, we and then build. Now, of course, it's going to take a little while, and once it's done, we need to do npm run preview. So npm run and then preview. Now, once we do so, notice that it will do pretty much the same thing, but the port, it's different. It's just a different location. The other one on the dev environment runs on 5173. This one is 4173. So what we are getting on the preview is the ready to deploy version of the application. And we can see it on our project. If we go at the top, we can see something that says .sveltekit. If I open this, we have all the files that will get deployed or you need to deploy. Then if we go to the output, we have the client and then we have the server. So this will give you all the files that you need on the client and all the ones that you need on the server. Still, if we go to the preview and then I go to contact or posts, we are getting the posts. If I go to users, this is just working as expected. So this is still a full-blown server-side rendering type of application. And usually we want this, but you have options. We can decide which pages should be pre-rendered when we build the application. Meaning at the build time, when we do npm run build, it will generate a light HTML version of a page or view. For example, if I go to home, I know that this page, our home, it's super static. And I am assuming that this home will not change over time. We are not listening for an API route. We are not loading users or posts, nothing. We have something very, very simple. So what we can do, we can let Sveltekit know that home could be a pre-rendered HTML static version. By default, it is not. This is a server-side, client-side type of page. So we need to let Sveltekit know that we want to do this. So the way to do it, and I'm going to go to source and then routes, is to create a JavaScript file. Could be the plus page.js or the plus page.server.js, and we need to use a line of code, which is a very small line, letting the Sveltekit know that we want to turn off or on the pre-render. So I will do it right now. I'm going to go to routes. If I create a new file and I say plus and then page, and in this case, it's going to be .js, could be a plus page.server.js. We need to say export, then const, and then pre-render equals 2, and we could say false to turn it off, or we could say true to keep it on. By default, it is off, so it's false, because when we build the application, the home is a server-side and client-side type of component, type of view. If I go here and then say true, it means that for home, because this is on the root and it's targeting the plus page.svelte, it means that when we build the application, the home will be a static version of home or a pre-rendered version of home. And when we deploy it, it will deploy that version. Don't worry, I'm gonna show you how it works. I'm gonna do clear and then do the same thing than before, but now home, it's on pre-render. So okay, so I will do npm run build. It will just create and build the application, and then I will do npm run preview. If I go to home again and I reload the application, notice that everything is still the same. It's just not changing. It works the same. There's a difference. If I go to Sveltekit and then go to output, now we have 3 different folders. We don't have just client and just server. We have pre-rendered. And if I go here, we can see that it says pre-rendered, then pages, and then we have home, which is index.html. And if I open this, let me just go down on this one. When we check the code, we can see that this one is home. So yeah, this is what happens when we and just server. We have pre-rendered. And if I go here, we can see that it says pre rendered, then pages, and then we have home, which is index.html. And if I open this, let me just go down on this one. When we check the code, we can see that this one is home. So yeah, by default, our routes will get rendered on the server and then on the client. We know this. If we go to the package.json that we have somewhere right here, the package.json, we have the commands like we get on Svelte, just Svelte, not Sveltekit, the build and then the preview. So we can do npm run build to build our application and then preview to check it out. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill the server. I will do clear and then run npm run and then build. Now, of course, it's going to take a little while. And once it's done, we need to do npm run preview. So npm run and then preview. Now, once we do so, notice that it will do pretty much the same thing, but the port, it's different. It's just a different location. The other one on the dev environment runs on 5173. This one is 4173. So what we are getting on the preview is the ready to deploy version of the application. And we can see it on our project. If we go at the top, we can see something that says .sveltekit. If I open this, we have all the files that will get deployed or you need to deploy. Then if we go to the output, we have the client and then we have the server. So this will give you all the files that you need on the client and all the ones that you need on the server. Still, if we go to the preview and then I go to contact or posts, we are getting the posts. If I go to users, this is just working as expected. So this is still a full-blown server-side rendering type of application. And usually we want this, but you have options. We can decide which pages should be pre-rendered when we build the application. Meaning, at the build time, when we do npm run build, it will generate a light HTML version of a page or view. For example, if I go to home, I know that this page, our home, it's super static. And I am assuming that this home will not change over time. We are not listening for an API route. We are not loading users or posts, nothing. We have something very, very simple. So what we can do, we can let Sveltekit know that home could be a pre-rendered HTML static version. By default, it is not. This is a server-side, client-side type of page. So we need to let Sveltekit know that we want to do this. So the way to do it, and I'm going to go to source and then routes, is to create a JavaScript file. Could be the plus page.js or the plus page.server.js, and we need to use a line of code, which is a very small line, letting the Sveltekit know that we want to turn off or on the pre-render. So I will do it right now. I'm going to go to routes. If I create a new file and I say plus and then page, and in this case, it's going to be .js, could be a plus page.server.js. We need to say export, then const, and then pre-render equals 2, and we could say false to turn it off, or we could say true to keep it on. By default, it is off, so it's false, because when we build the application, the home is a server-side and client-side type of component, type of view. If I go here and then say true, it means that for home, because this is on the root and it's targeting the plus page.svelte, it means that when we build the application, the home will be a static version of home or a pre-rendered version of home. And when we deploy it, it will deploy that version. Don't worry, I'm gonna show you how it works. I'm gonna do clear and then do the same thing than before, but now home, it's on pre-render. So okay, so I will do npm run build. It will just create and build the application, and then I will do npm run preview. If I go to home again and I reload the application, notice that everything is still the same. It's just not changing. It works the same. There's a difference. If I go to Sveltekit and then go to output, now we have 3 different folders. We don't have just client and just server. We have pre-rendered. And if I go here, we can see that it says pre-rendered, then pages, and then we have home, which is index.html. And if I open this, let me just go down on this one. When we check the code, we can see that this one is home. So yeah, this is what happens when we turn on the pre-rendered on a route. It will create at the build time when we do, which means when we do npm run build, a static HTML version of that page. And this gives you a lot of benefits because you're serving a simple raw HTML, which is super fast, super easy for the browser. In our case, for home, for this home, since we don't have a lot, this kind of works. This pre-render works. If you make a change on home, if you go to the page.svelte and you change something here, you will need to redeploy your application so you can pre-render again. Okay, so hopefully you understand how this works, how we can turn on the pre-render on a route. Now, the problem sometimes comes with different routes. This one is just way too simple. If I go to posts, on posts, we are loading posts. So we are making a request to get some data. And if I go to that location, I go to posts, we are getting props that we are getting from the plus page.js. So maybe making this an HTML version, it's maybe not that easy. It depends. It really depends on your application. I will go to the plus page.js and I will go here at the top and I need to say export, then const, and then pre-render, and I will make it true. So I'm just gonna create an HTML version of the posts. I will do the same thing than before. I'm gonna go at the bottom, kill the server, npm run build, then npm run preview, gonna press enter, and now the application is running. If I go home, we get home, that's fine. If I go to posts, we are still getting the posts. And if I go to Sveltekit and go to output, we can see that inside the pre-rendered we have the index, which is home, and then we have the posts.html. Now, if I show you what we have right here, all the different posts. So we have a static HTML version of all the different posts. So what happened right here is that when we did npm run build, the application went to the load function, got all the data it needed, then it kind of burned everything into a static HTML file, and that is what it's serving right now. Still, you need to be careful, because even though this works, what happens if someone adds a new post? Well, you're not going to be able to show the updates, because what you're serving from your application is a static version of the list of the posts. If there's an update or something, you will need to do npm run build and then deploy to your server just to show the updates. Let's say that this post page needs to show a post that changes every 5 seconds or so. Well, in that case, the pre-rendering, it's not a good option, because we are just shipping a hard-coded version of the post and we are expecting a lot of changes. So this shouldn't be a pre-render true. Now, still, if you want to create an async function, let me go back to the posts page. If you want to create an async function right here with JavaScript, just like we would do with the Sveltekit, for example, which is not a server-side rendering type of application, that will work. Maybe we fetch the initial 100 posts, and then you would do a new fetch just to get the updates or maybe the new posts. But the 100 posts are going to be there, with the static version of the posts. So when you create your routes, you really need to be aware of what you have or what you're doing on each of the pages before you deploy it, or before you make a decision to make it pre-render of true. Now, you have a few more things with the pre-render, but we need the right example. So let's go to the next video and talk about this. Okay, so I want to show you a couple more things. I will go to the pages where we have the pre-render, and I will delete this, and because I need a clean application, and I will just delete that one as well. And I'm just gonna close everything. Fine. So I want to show you a couple more things. If you do npm run build and something is not showing on the preview, maybe, just maybe, you need to go to your Sveltekit directory, .sveltekit, and you need to delete it. To click and delete, and make sure that the server is not running. It will ask you, are you sure? Yeah, I want to delete, and delete permanently. And okay, so now we know that when we go to a page, that page we can enable pre-rendering or not. The thing is that we need to go to each of the pages and maybe enable this feature, and we want this feature on all the pages. Well, there's an easier way. We can go to the routes, and on the layouts.js, we can specify the pre-render. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to new file within the roots, or the root of roots. So this needs to be a plus layout.js. Since just like the layout.svelte will pretty much wrap the whole application, well, the layout.js will apply for the whole application. So if I do export and then const and then pre-render, and I make this equal to true, This means that when I do npm run build, Sveltekit will try to pre-render pretty much the whole application. Like I said before, make sure that you don't have a .sveltekit because sometimes you can run into some issues when you do something like this. So okay, so now I guess it's the moment of the truth. I'm going to do npm and then run and then build. And let's see what happens. Just press enter. And as soon as I do so, we get an error. So, okay, and I knew about this. I just want to show you. It says, cannot pre-render pages with actions. So this means that you do have some rules. You cannot pre-render pages with actions. And the one where we have an action, well, that's going to be the contact. If I go to the contact, we are working with a form that uses actions. So we need a way to tell Sveltekit that we don't want the contact as a pre-render. So the way we do so is the same as before. We go to export and then const, and we say pre-render, and we set it to false. And that's it. The application will try to pre-render the whole application minus the contact route. And we will run into one more issue, but I'm gonna run it and see what that issue is. Okay, so that's it. This is the error. The following routes were marked as pre-renderable, but not, blah, 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 and so on. So it says they were not found while crawling your app. And it's pointing to users, user, and then ID. Now, this makes sense. The ID, this is a dynamic route. How can we make a static HTML pre-rendered version of a dynamic page? We don't know the ID of the user, so we cannot pre-render dynamic type of routes. It's the same solution. I will need to go to users, user, and then ID and make the pre-render false. So it's users, then user, and then ID. I guess we do have a page.js, and I'm gonna just put it right here. Make the terminal a little bit smaller, and we'll go here and say that the ID false. Let's do it again. I will do npm run build. First, I guess I'm gonna need to do clear what happened here. So npm run build. Let's see if we get an error. I don't think that yeah, okay, everything's fine. Let's do npm run preview. And if I go to Sveltekit, we can confirm on output and then pre-rendered that we have on pre-render pretty much the whole application minus contact and the other ones. And if we go to the preview, we should be getting the application, running the application with no problems at all. If I go to posts, we get it. If I go to users, and then I guess I need to go to user, let's do the user number 2. And I guess we get no response. Maybe it's because on the users we did something, or maybe we are not outputting anything. Oh, we are not outputting anything, but we are doing a console log of the props. So if we go to the console, we are getting that user. So yeah, everything works. Whenever you build your application, you need to double check or triple check all your different routes. And just make sure that you're not pre-rendering something that you don't really want. Now, I'm going to show you something a little bit, I want to say strange. It's just the way it works. And if you use Next.js, it's the same thing. So I will close everything. I'm going to kill the server. I'm going to do clear, and I will go to home. And I will create a link. And I'm going to do a href, and then open and close the link. And I'm going to say user ID of 2. ID of 2, that's it. Now the link is a reference to maybe this location, the same location that we were using, the ID of the user. I guess it was users, then it was user, and then 2, something like that. So I need to point it to here. So, okay, so I will go to href, and we can do something like this if we wanted to. And then inside, I'm going to point to not localhost, just to users, and then user, and then the user 2. So I'm adding a link to that specific user. And I know that maybe what I'm doing, it makes no sense, but it will in a second. I need to go also to the user's ID, and I will go to that plus page. And I'm going to disable this. I'm just going to comment this out. So in theory, if I'm trying to pre-render the dynamic route, I should be getting an error. Let's see, I'm going to do npm and then run and then build. I'm going to press enter and see if we get the error back. And as you can see, we don't. If I run the preview, let's just make sure that everything works. I will go maybe to home, and if I go to home, that works. If I go to contact, user, posts, everything works. So now I'm going to go to that user ID of 2. If I go there, we are getting the user. You notice that we are getting the console log. So posts, user, so we are getting it. So what in the hell is going on? So I will go to the number 3, right? We only have a link for the number 2. We don't have a link for the number 3. So if I go to the user number 3, we get an error. So it's not able to find the user. And it's because that route doesn't exist. But we already know that this page does exist. It's going to be the page that's felt within the users and then the ID, and that, should be working. If I go to the Sveltekit and I go to the output and then pre-rendered, we can see that we have the pages. If I go to users and I go to user, we can see that we have the pre-rendered HTML version of the number 2, but we don't have the rest. So this happens because when you do npm run build, and you have a link on one of your routes that it's pointing to a dynamic route, the Sveltekit, what will do, it will create an HTML version of that route, just like it's just doing with the ID of 2, but it will not build a pre-rendered version of all the other ones because you don't have a link. And this is the default behavior, just like you get with Next.js, that if you find a link and pre-render it's pretty much turned on for your whole application, it will create that static version. That's why I'm telling you, you always need to make sure that everything works, because maybe you forgot about this and you have one single link and you're getting no errors on your server, but then, the application is just not going to work. Now, let me show you one more thing. I will go at the bottom. I'm going to just kill the server. I'm going to clear. And before I run the build again, what I want to do, I want to delete the Sveltekit first. I'm going to right click and delete it. Okay, so delete, and there it goes. So, okay, so I want to go to the root and then the layout. I'm going to close all of this because it's just a little bit confusing. We know that we are enabling the pre-rendering on all the routes because we are going to a layout.js, and this one is equal to true. So what we can do, instead of doing true and false, you do have an auto option. So what you can do, it's just auto. And remember that on home, we still have that link. And if I go to the users and then user and then ID, we know that that one, it's still, we don't have an option right here. We are not turning the pre-render to false. I'm going to run it again and see what happens. npm run build. And when we do so, it's going to pass, and it's passing. And now if I do the preview, let me just run the preview. I will go to, my app. If I go to the user ID of 2, we are getting the user right here on the console. And if I go to the number 3, fingers crossed, it's just getting the information. It's working. So, we are getting the user number 3. And if I go, to the 4, it's just working. Now I will go to this Sveltekit and then output and pre-rendered, then to pages and users and then user. Notice that we still have the 2. So it's kind of weird, but again, it's just the way it works. Since it's finding that link on home, it's creating that pre-rendered version of this user. If the case is we are going or trying to fetch a user that it's not pre-rendered, it will do the job. It will go to the server and bring the information about that post or that user. And this is because the auto, it's just a little bit more intelligent when working with dynamic routes. Now, still, I'm showing you this so you can decide what to do with your applications. Usually, I wouldn't do something like what we are doing on the layout and turning on pre-render for the whole application. Usually, I would do the opposite. Why using a server side rendering type of framework if we are just gonna pre-render pretty much everything? In my case, I will just, turn this off, just not use it, or maybe put it in auto, or not use it at all, and then go to very specific pages that I know that will not change over time, and then making or creating a static version of them by turning the pre-render on. we need to talk about one more thing before we move forward, which is the SSR and the CSR options that you get on each page. So when you have